Morning, it's Vaughan. It is the 22nd of April today, and I posted a video on the underglazes last weekend, and I thought sort of a couple of comments about the brush strokes and could I show it a bit more clearly. And somebody asked me about some paint brushes if I tried them too, so I just ordered them. They aren't here yet, but when they arrive, I'll show those too. But basically, I'm going to use my own brushes and the sponge that I showed in the other video, but show a bit closer and exactly describe what I'm doing. Because I think it's actually, it's like printing with a paintbrush. If you had a potato and you print it on a piece of paper, that's what I'm doing with a paintbrush basically. Or any type of printing, you're just transferring color from one surface to another. And you can vary that by actually applying color on the brush, one layer, one color, or you could even apply 2 or 3 layers to a paintbrush and just, get an interesting stroke like that. So somebody asked me about, can it do watercolors? Can you use them like watercolors? And yeah, of course you can. You just thin them down with a lot of water. And so we'll do that. I've got a sponge. And this has got brown clay. This is actually bone dry, but it's not been bisquied. So we've got the brown clay and then we've got the white slip that's over the top, but they're all completely dry now. So I'm just getting a lot of water in the sponge and then basically give myself some color here. So the sponge is, ooh, that looks funny, doesn't it? It's got that much color, but it's quite wet. Now I can't paint right-handed, so hopefully you can, I can't left-handed rather, so I hope you can see this. So I'm just kind of doing this. And I don't like putting too much color down solidly at first, so I'm kind of washing in. And this color is the forest green in the underglazes. So I love 3 of the greens for sure in this set of underglazes. I'm going in a different direction, so it's almost like cross-hatching. And I'm going to try and put some blues in the upper area there. So that's the first layer, and that's very watery. So, and then I like the meadow green. Now I rinse my sponge a little bit. I've got to shake these up each time. That was a bit watery when it came out. So each time you pick them up, shake them up quite a bit. And I usually use this a little thicker, but so rinse my paintbrush. Just turn it around a little bit there. So it's wet now, but not as wet as it was with the first layer. And then I'm simply going over again. So it's really, really watery, and it soaks in very quickly. And I could be putting this on with a paintbrush, like a regular watercolor brush, or I could actually use this. You can print it just even at this point, just with texture sponges, whatever. So we've got 2 greens on the surface there. And then I like mint green too. There are 3 other greens in this set here. The one color I don't have in this set, which I don't think they make, is a real, the color of red bricks that you get in old houses, especially if they acid etch the bricks. I love that color. I wish there was one of those in here, but there isn't. So maybe I'll talk to them and see whether they can make one. But I've noticed with mason stains, that they don't have that color either. So now I'm going to go up higher because this is the lighter of the 3 greens. And that's my kind of fuzzy background of a kind of the landscape itself. And then I like a couple of the blues. So this is just like watercolor painting at this point. And this is a very light blue, and it's called powder blue. I always put the lids down again because there's little
the pointer in the lid pushes the color back into the jar, which is a good idea. Now we've got the light blue. I could start with dark or light, but I'm just starting with the light. So there's a powder. And then I love the turquoise blue too. So this is really just how to do a wash background. I'm not going to rinse the sponge because we're moving light to dark, so it won't need to be. And then the same again. Going to go a little higher up this time. There's a very small space here anyway. Now I'm going to try and get it in that little groove area. I'm kind of missing a white. Do it a little bit more. I'm going to try doing it over here, even though you can't quite see it, because I can angle my hand a bit better. And down to try and get into that white area. Okay, and that's quite a decent color, but I might try just a bit more, because I love this one, Marine Aqua too. I'm going to try watering this one down just a touch though. Because it'll make it stretch further. And then I'm just going to skip it into that area at the top here again. And I'm going to overlap the green just a touch. So I'm just wobbling the sponge backward and forwards. So I should have some depth in that area of color now. And I could even just kind of, just to even up the top where I've been, basically the color's been overlapping the rim, which may look a little bit like an accident when the piece is fired. But I don't like getting underglaze on rims because I fire my pots with the lids on in the bisque firing. And if the underglaze is a little fluxy, your piece can stick to the lid. So that's never a good thing. And that's what I found with some underglazes, especially ones that are meant to go to earthenware temperature, that they flux at a lower temperature and get glossy, and pieces stick together. I used to fire plates on top of each other, and then the bottom of the plate would stick to the plate it was sitting on. I learned my lesson very quick doing that. But anyway, so that's our background. So next I'm going to do the actual brush strokes. Okay, so this is the brush is a really beautiful Chinese brush. I have found that buying these brushes on sites from, I think they're Chinese sites like Temu, and there's another one, I can't remember the name of it, but they have great brushes. I mean, this is a Temu paintbrush. I think I got three for like $3 or $4. And they're really nice brushes. So you can't go wrong, I don't think, when you're buying these. I just bought a pack that had 12 in them, and it was only like, you know, $10, $12 or something. So they're very cheap brushes, and for pottery these are really beautiful. So if you wear it out with the painting on abrasive surfaces, it doesn't matter because it didn't cost much. So anyway, when you do the brush strokes like this is a light touch, and you're simply changing the pressure and how much you're holding it close to the surface and how much you're pulling it away to get that kind of effect, which is really hard on a curved surface. But I simply use, can you see the paintbrush? Okay, let's get this a little closer. So it's hard because I'm actually getting the cameras in my way too. But so I'm simply doing that, a flick. So you've got to be a bit confident about this, I guess. And I have never had any training in painting like this, so I just taught myself. And it's a really hard one, this one, because it's so strong a curve. It's almost like I need the camera stuck to my shoulder. But anyway, that's a sort of a basic idea. Now that's upside down, obviously. So, and there's another thing you can do using a flat brush. Oh, it's in my water pot. Making sure it's not too wet. Is I take this flat brush and I simply dab the end into the color, which is quite watery, that I just watered down. And you can give yourself like a stem, kind of, just by dab, 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 dab. And it's sometimes nice to offset it too, because you get that kind of feathered look. And this is great if you're making like a one of those flowers. I can't remember the name of it now, but we get them all over they're wildflowers in Nova Scotia. But the camera is so close, the back of the paintbrush is actually hitting the camera. So I hope you can see. I may have to get some more color. See, I'm offsetting the brush just a bit sometimes. All of this tends to get covered up with the flowers anyway. One thing I have noticed when I'm painting these with the Kiwi underglazes is you want to make sure your color, and it's very tempting to put it on really thick straight away, but you really want to try to put in 3 thin layers. Otherwise, when it gets too thick and wet and then it dries, you get little cracks in the surface. That's why I've been time-consumingly painting 3 layers on all the petals instead of all, very thick all in one go. But anyway, that gives me like a ground level kind of look on the piece here. And I'm going to turn it the right way up. Because it's a dry pot, the color dries instantly, which is much nicer. I definitely think it'd be not advisable to paint this on soft clay with the underglazes, because then it would take a long time to dry. Now, I did that, but now I can follow those kind of lines and just come up a bit higher, but I do need a bit more color. Okay, so it's really so hard to I'm feathering, offsetting a little bit. And I'm going to paint like little white or even yellow and gray or yellow and brown buds on these eventually. But it's just dab. I mean, this is not that you have to have some gentle, kind of sensitive touch. But basically, so far, this is a motor. Well, I'm not sure what you would call it, but that's the motor skill. So it kind of looks like reeds in the marshland kind of look. The wildflowers are starting here in Nova Scotia now. My forsythia is just coming out on April 22nd, so people in England are just going to laugh at that, because I remember it used to come out so early in England. And you can keep doing this, and the more you do it, the more fun it is actually. So just really, and you can think about branches coming up and a little branch coming off and that kind of thing. So you're really just trying to create that kind of real feeling of the marsh. And there I went a bit thick, and I'm just going to paint some color over that. I think we've got plenty there, but I could do a bit more down here too. maybe break up the pattern a little bit by coming in from different colors and directions. I'm enjoying doing these in the evenings. I bought a whole bunch of DVDs years ago, which I never watched, and so I'm having a fun time in the evening in this new studio, just painting 1 or 2 pieces a night. And I brought one of my house cats over here the other day. She panicked, so I might try it again though. She hid behind the cupboards where the glaze chemicals are, but I don't. The floor is still really clean in here, so I'm not quite as worried. Mainly because when I go to bed at night, she gets right under the covers with me, so I don't want her to get any chemicals on her. Anyway, we've got that there. So that's another way of doing it. Okay, this is what I mean now. We've got this brown. It's actually called chestnut brown. So I'm just going to create like a reed effect on the ends of these. It's by dabbing it, so it's like printing. So I'll put you on fast motion because now it's repetitive all the way around. So now I've got the lemon yellow, and I'm just going to kind of lightly touch down the same stems to kind of give it a feeling of like little bits of feathering kind of yellow at the end of each one of those brown brush strokes. So it's just a matter of touching lightly, and it doesn't matter if it's heavy or light because it's just an effect really, so it's not meant to be an exact flower kind of, because all this is in the background anyway. There'll be some, I think I'll probably put white daisies growing on this piece. Okay, stop motion again. So now I'm not going to rinse my brush. I've got still some yellow on there, but I'm going to take the white and I'm going to make a bunch of daisies on this piece now. So this is where the paintbrush can really come into play. You can get a really fat print from the brush, or you can just lightly touch and pull it, and you actually can create like a thin base of the flower petal and then the actual broader area. So you just do that, press hard, and do it from just about the same point the other direction, and you've got 2. If you want to make a heart shape, you can do another one like that, and then opposite, and that gives you that heart shape, which is another nice petal shape. So you can really do a couple of different. I try and rotate the brush each time I press it down just to give me a new area of wet brush. So I'm just going to do that. I'll show you one more time. So it's pull back and touch and then press hard. Pull back and touch and press hard. And for the heart shape, you simply do the same, but right next to the other petal. And then the same down the bottom again. Rotate the brush and do it again. And I'm going to do this all the way around 3 times, pressing exactly on every petal the same. But you want stop motion. Okay, now we have 2 layers all the way around. The third layer, I'm going to use the same paintbrush with the white. So I dip the white on, and then I'll show you, lift this up. I dip the end of the paintbrush in the yellow, like that. And then I'm going to have to do that for every petal. So it's a bit time consuming, but what it does is it actually gives you shade or gradation, and I can turn it over for each petal. So it gives you that little yellow fading to white effect, which is, you know, that's a lot of work, but it looks good. So you touch, oh, didn't pick too much up that time. It doesn't matter, there's enough there to, so you put enough yellow on the petal to make it fade into the white. So keep loading the white and just dab the end in the yellow. Turn it over so you get some more yellow in. And then that's the third layer, so I'm not going to put any more on there. But you can see how it really does give you that kind of, I probably should do a bit more on that one that missed. So it gives 3 dimension. It gives a feeling of shading, or, you know, sort of a grade from yellow to white in the actual tint. So I'm going to do that all the way around now, and that'll be the third layer. So I've got all of the flowers, and you can see the sort of variation in all the petals. It just makes it more alive, more realistic, I guess, as well. And now I'm just going to paint like a really orange center to each flower. And this is where, if I'm not careful, I can get all the way around and it's still wet, and then I'll put another layer down on top. And you don't want it to get too thick, otherwise you get cracks. It does say that with the underglazes to actually apply 3 thin coats rather than 1 thick coat. But look at that, it really makes it pop when you do that. So I'm going to do this all the way around 3 times. Now I'm just going to add a little centered bit with saffron orange. So I had monarch orange behind, and now I've got saffron orange in front. So it'll just give a little volume to the actual monarch orange. And this is why it's so nice to have several shades or tints of all the colors, because you can really build up a lot of volume without having to mix 2 colors together yourself. Although I could intermix these all. I could add some red to the orange to give me a really deep orange, or an orangey red, as you want, whatever you say. But this just gives you a little depth to that, because this is pretty much done now. There you go, been all the way around. I don't think I need to do a third, because it's already orange underneath, so I'm sure that will show up. But I think that's fairly nice, and it's a simple technique which will give you a nice floral. I'm going to paint some slight, tiny little dots, so they're not really evident very distinctively, just lightly there. And this might make those pop a little bit more, draw your eye when somebody's looking at it. I don't like using black as much. I sometimes use a dark purple rather than a black, because black tends to deaden things a bit. When you look at these flowers in the garden, they often have black stamens in the center. There we go, done. Voila.